In this video, let's talk about a couple of different concepts, and I'm going to wrap some things in with vibe coding, which seems to be the latest and greatest approach to trying to write code. So here we have a Docusign CLM instance, and I'm on a document preview screen. What you're going to see over here though is I have a hyperlink that I'm able to submit a legal service request, or at least that's the goal. Well, what this hyperlink is giving me, besides being able to submit a request, is the ID on which a document is related. So when I click this link, it opens up eForm, which for purposes of CLM is a custom HTML page that can have JavaScript and CSS in there. And you can see here the document ID that it's related to is already prefabricated for us. Now that's really nice compared to a different approach within the CLM, which would require the user to either enter that number or pick the document. And you technically just came off of the document. So let's make it simple. Let's already have that ready to go. Now, what are the benefits of this? Well, now you can look up that document and you can get all of the information that's related to it and start to process. In another video, I'm going to show that you even have more flexibility to do some cooler stuff. But in this video, this is the use case we're looking to address. And how can we do that with vibe coding? Okay, so let's switch over to our other two screens that we have here. We're going to leave that because that's our use case. Now, what you see over here on the right is I've mocked up in Draw.io a potential form that we want to build. Now, there's been a lot of talk with vibe coding. There's been even more talk about taking an image and feeding it into a bot and having it generate everything for you. I'm going to do a video on that and see how far I get. But for this one, I want to go with VS Code. Why VS Code? Well, I signed up for a beta program with Docusign to test some of their new extensions that may be coming out. And as part of that, it had me install the Copilot. I wanted to see then if I try to vibe code this or some of it, how far we can get. So here's the full form, very simple form to be honest with you. Nothing super special here. Probably wouldn't take me very long just to manually type it up, to be honest, but I've got decades of experience in doing that. Let's say you're somebody new and you were given this visual, or you built the visual and now you want to turn it into a prototype. Okay, well, let's try this for the first iteration here in VS Code. So here's the original page that you saw. Here's the original page that was on the screen. This is how we get the document ID that's being passed over the query string, and then I just shoot it out onto the screen. So we'll leave that here for now, but let's take a look here and let's actually increase our font size a little bit because I'm always a fan of being able to see things. And let's start with the Copilot now. So we're going to do our vibe coding. So what I started with before is not really asking it anything. I just started with some type of a angle bracket and I'm going to say label. All right. And there, okay, so for document ID, so now what's happening here automatically, it's starting to read. That's what I'm understanding. It's reading the code down here. And it's saying, oh, you want document ID, don't you? Okay, well, let's go with that. So I just hit tab and it also then put the label in the input. Now, label, it's not a super new construct, but it's good for semantic. It's also good for assistive. And what you're going to see now is the ability to have it start to prompt my way through with the vibe coding. So I'm going to change this from document ID to something different. And I'm going to just update this to say select request groups. Now again, I'm not feeding it the image on the right. Nope, I'm not doing that. And had I had no idea what I'm doing, probably I wouldn't stumble on label for this. So a little bit of an advantage I have because I built this type of stuff before. So if you're super new, your mileage is gonna vary, but we'll do request groups as the 4. And then we'll click over here. We're gonna hit enter. We're gonna try another. Oh, look at that. It already popped up. Let me back out here. Look at that. So that's interesting. What's this doing now? It's reading the plurality of groups and it's coming up with its own dropdown. Now, if I had an HTML previewer here, we would be able to see that. So I'll do that in a sec. But do I want this as dropdowns? But I kind of want them as checkboxes. But let's just continue with this for now. Let's see what we can get out of this. And so we're going to hit enter. And it says, well, do you want to keep going with these choices? Or, and I'm going to say, no, I want to end this. So then I end the select. So right there, I've got my first label, which is for the request groups, and that's the ID. At w3schools.com, you can learn a lot about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, so this is our first one, and yes, it's a drop down, so that's technically not what we wanted, but you can see how it auto-completed it. So let's nuke this. Let's back out for a sec, and let's try and help it understand what we're trying to do here. So I don't know if this is truly vibe coding, but I'm considering it a pretty steroid-based autocomplete, I'll tell you that much. So here we go with the select. I'm going to do an input type checkbox. Boom. It already read my mind. It says, hey, you probably want a checkbox instead of a select here, don't you? Well, yes, I do. Thank you very much. So I'm going to hit tab, and now you can see I'm getting more and more of these groups. So I just tabbed apparently too many times. Let me shrink it down just a little bit. Okay, type checkbox. We're going to put in here our finance ID. We're going to do this with finance, and I think what we're going to do is wrap this to allow us to have this more visible. Right. So I'm going to blow this back up a little bit. So here's the label for the groups, and this would be finance. Well, no, it's going to be the select request for. So let's back that out. We're going to have our checkbox to the left of our text. Okay, now look what it did right there. It says, oh, you probably are looking to build a form here. And it's correct, although I'm not looking to do a formal form tag, meaning with an eForm inside Docusign CLM, I don't need that. I'm not doing traditional development that way, but if I wanted it, I could have that. So that's pretty nifty. Now, I just hit escape to get rid of that suggestion. And what we're going to do here is we're going to paste the label, and we're going to say for finance, and we'll put it after it. Now, is it complaining about this? Is there a linter component to this? Not yet. Not that I'm seeing to say, hey, you're probably not doing your markup correctly. You shouldn't be doing it this way. The BRs are also something I find intriguing, that it's trying to do the breaks, the hard breaks to put a new line in. That one I'm struggling to think through a little bit. But okay, so now I've got my input type checkbox, ID finance, name request groups, value, all right? And I've got another one down here. I'm going to set the ID on this one to be human resources. And we're going to need to do a label. Let's see what we get here. If we do our label, yeah, but it's not giving me the autocomplete for what it could be. So that's probably because of how I'm laying this out. That's what I'm guessing. That's what I'm guessing on this, or it's possible that I've confused it because I didn't set the value to human resources. I don't know, let's try another one. We'll see what we get. Let's see if it's watching for patterns in my coding versus just trying to, all right, let's hit another one. Okay, and yeah, it's watching for patterns. So now we've got legal. That's really not bad. Let's keep that. Now we got marketing. That's not bad either, although we're going to change this. So we'll just do them one at a time. So instead of legal, which you can honestly keep, but in this case I'm not going to keep that. I'm going to go with information security. But this is neat. Now what would be nice is if I type information security and then all instances of legal update. That would be cool. That would be pretty nifty. Save me a bunch of time there. But it's already picking up the pattern. All right, and let's go back over here for this. Okay. hit escape to get out of there. Let's hit a hard return, and it's going to guess. So it puts legal back in. So we'll say, yeah, you're fine. And it's going to guess for our next one. And marketing, and we'll say you're fine. So now here we're going to fix our legal to our privacy. Now, how can I do this? I can do an Alt, hold the Alt key. When it comes to VS Code, just hold the Alt key here and click multiple times. I can then highlight, and then I can do privacy. All right, and I'll just hold the Alt key, and now we will get rid of marketing, and we will call it tax. Okay, right, so we've cleaned up what we needed here. This is looking pretty good. Now let's actually open this up and take a look at it over here on the right. Okay, so we finished up a little bit of the markup here. We're taking a look now over here, and looks okay, except we messed up our human resources here. So we'll save that, we'll refresh, and there's our human resources. Now, related document ID would get rid of course, the legal service request. This can be, we can put some CSS here to make it look better, but that part we're not working on just yet. So if we've got that going, let's head back to Draw.io. So here we are on Draw.io, and we can see here that we've got our first box. Now this one's going to be a little bit more interesting. I want to bring in a rich text editor. Now HTML by default doesn't have that, but what HTML does have is a text area. Right, so let's do a label here. And this will be interesting. Look at that, request description. Look at how that is, wow. Wow. It's reading my mind. Yeah, not my mind, but it's reading off of what we have here. And it's absolutely correct in thinking we want that. And I just talked about the text area. So either it's listening to me, which that's not true, but yeah, wow. So very cool. So there's your text area. And let's save this. Let's switch over. So we switched over to our legal service request visual here. And sure enough, it's getting close. Let's switch back. Okay, now you see my cute little emojis and such here. How can I get the request area to turn into that? Because it's not, you just saw a box, right? You've got 4 rows and 50 calls, and that's what you can do with a plain HTML text area. But we want a rich text editor. So there is an open source library called Quill. Let's switch over now and look to get and pull that JavaScript library in from a CDN. Okay, so here we are on Quill, open source, MIT licensed, and you know, we could certainly copy all this, which we probably will, but let's just do this first. Let's grab this guy, and then that way, just copy it. Let's put our link up in our head here, which we traditionally do. And let's pull in the Quill library, and we'll put that right above our script tag, which has our custom. Okay. Now let's see what happens. Now let's see const Quill. Look at that. Boom. So now that's interesting. Wicked interesting to me. It's literally reading this from the CDN. It's pulled the library down. It knows how to instantiate it. And I'm going to do that. And it's coming up with the theme. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to end it. And there it is with the ending of it. Okay. So that's totally cool. That just copied the code that they have over here without me having to copy it. I just had to pull the CDN in. So we've got a text area, which you're really not looking to mess with. It's going to take your div and it's going to turn it into a rich text area. So let's go div and look, ID editor. Boom. It's like, hey, you just added this library in. You must want this. Then I like the button ID submit. I'm going to use that. Let's save this. We're saving it. Let's head back over now. Let's refresh our legal service requests. There you go. Now it's huge. right? Haven't given it any type of height or width. Immediately within the span of this recording, I've got a form that effectively copy paste tweak, and my form is done. That's pretty cool stuff in my book. So this is the Copilot within VS Code, allowing me to vibe code. A little bit different vibe. I'm not actually vibe coding through a prompt, although I suppose if I figure that out how to do it, I will try it as well that way and show you. But this was very helpful to get this spun up from the Draw.io. And while we're not done, it's coming along pretty quickly. And the autocomplete portion of it and auto suggestion portion of it is quite nice in that regard. Thanks.